this week, a landmark civil lawsuit was filed seeking restitution from Lafarge for the Yazidi victims of ISIS crimes. Joining me now for an exclusive interview are international human rights lawyer Amal Clooney, who is one of the lead lawyers on the suit, as well as the lead plaintiff, a Yazidi woman and Nobel Peace Prize recipient named Nadia Murad. She is the author of The Last Girl, My Story of Captivity and My Fight Against the Islamic State. I'm pleased to welcome both of you back to the show. It is such a pleasure to see you, but there's such an important case. Just give us, as you're the lawyer, give us the facts of the case. What did Lafarge actually do?
So thank you, Fareed, for having us. The facts of this case are really shocking. So as you said, just when the genocide against the Yazidis was beginning in Iraq that ISIS committed, this company that had already been funding ISIS for a year actually ramped up its support for ISIS. And, the invasion began on the 3rd of August, 2014. Just days later, Lafarge was negotiating a new deal with ISIS, not just to keep the factory going, but to actually split its profits, give them a share of the cake, as they put it. They were negotiating the terms of this deal on the 15th of August, when ISIS attacked Nadia's village, when 6 of her brothers were executed, and when her mother was executed. They actually agreed, this cement company, one of the largest in the world, agreed to giving ISIS better terms in this profit-sharing arrangement that they were entering into, ultimately agreeing to give ISIS 10% of its cement and 25% of the value of its raw materials. I mean, they are watching these images unfolding in front of them. The factory that Lafarge was operating through its subsidiary in Syria was just 52 miles away from Raqqa, which was the center of the slave trade that the Yazidis became subjected to, the women and young girls. In the groundbreaking prosecution that the Department of Justice brought against this company, the company admitted that it gave almost $6 million to ISIS and to a related group, the Al-Nusra Front. They admit that they agreed to provide cement, which reportedly was used by ISIS to build tunnels in which Western hostages and Yazidis were held and tortured. So, this is an absolutely shocking set of circumstances. We commend the Department of Justice for criminally prosecuting this company in what was the first ever prosecution under a statute that allows prosecutors to go after companies that provide material support and conspire with terrorist groups. But the prosecution resulted in this huge fine, as you say, $750 million. None of that money has gone to the victims, not $1. So the Attorney General has the discretion to redirect some of those funds to the victims, and we hope that he will do so. We've made a request for that. But we've also filed this lawsuit in the Eastern District of New York, seeking on behalf of Nadia as our lead plaintiff, but also over 400 other Yazidi Americans to get compensation from Lafarge for assisting in terrorist violence.
Nadia, what would you do with the money? Let us assume the Attorney General does direct some, but let's assume the suit is successful. What are the needs of the people who have been affected so terribly by ISIS?
Having this company, holding them accountable and having them compensate those who have suffered because of their support to ISIS, it's really important. So many of these people in the U.S., Yazidis, they have family members still. Some of them have family members in captivity. Some have family members who returned back to their homeland, but they struggle to rebuild their lives. And I'm hoping that this will help them their family members to rebuild their lives, but also to be able to go back, because it's been almost 10 years and more than 200,000 Yazidis are still displaced inside their own country in Iraq. They can't afford to go back and rebuild their houses.
Amal, this was quite an effort, as you've pointed, the size of the suit, but also the complexity. You went to Nebraska to find plaintiffs for this suit. Tell us about that.
That's right. So the plaintiffs are all U.S. citizens, and we sort of had worked out the legal theory of the case. We, of course, were tracking what was happening in the criminal proceedings, and we were ready to go with the case. We just needed to find our clients and plaintiffs, and we discovered that there's a big community of Yazidis in Nebraska. So, I think Yazidis know, of course, that I've been working with this community on multiple accountability efforts for years now. We didn't tell them what it was about, but we said, can you please gather in this hall at this time? This lawyer's coming to Lincoln. And I started to explain what was possible. This is the first meaningful chance for compensation for these victims of ISIS. More and more people started coming and filling the hall, and I extended the trip. And it's amazing to see sort of laid out in this court document 427 names, and we expect that more people will come forward as well.
Next up, how did Nadia manage to go from a victim of ISIS terror to a powerful figure holding the group's supporters to account? More from Nadia Murad and Amal Clooney when we come back.
The Lead with Jake Tapper, CNN, tomorrow at 4.